Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author and robot and sometimes a loin streamer. And today we're going to be talking about the contentious relationship that apparently readers and authors have, specifically because of Goodreads. I don't know if this was a thing in previous generations where the internet did not connect authors and readers so personally, but it is interesting. But before we get started, just a couple of things. Number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the description down below for Le Moi and Fresh Meat feature. And number three, if you'd like to check out any of my works, they're all available at your favorite bookstores, and you can order them at your local libraries. So with that said, let's do this. I personally have not headbutted with any readers because I look at Goodreads, specifically my pages of Goodreads, as reader spaces for readers to talk amongst themselves. So the only time that I will respond to anything on Goodreads is when somebody submits like a user question to my author account, and that's pretty much it. Or if they send me an email of some kind, because obviously then somebody is looking for a response in that. But I will never comment on the pages for my books because I don't think that is a place that is meant for me in any sort of way. However, I have seen authors that respond on their own pages, authors that like reviews on their pages. And again, I think that that is kind of crossing the boundaries a bit for professional behavior, since the book page is for the readers, and I would not ever want to make readers feel uncomfortable in voicing their true opinions on any of my works. I have pretty tough skin, even if I start questioning what the frick I'm doing constantly. I'm going through that right now. I hate what I'm working on. At the same time, I'm like, I want to make this work, but I'm struggling with believing that I can freaking do anything right, but that's beside the point. But I would never want to impede in that space and make readers feel like I'm going to come after them for them just doing whatever it is that they want to do or say about my stuff. All I can say is I hope that you enjoy what I do if you give me the chance to look at it. Now, I have seen specifically, and you'll see it in a future video when I talk about Flames of Lethe, where the author went in there and actually critiqued or insulted, more like, a reader review, because the reader was also an author, but she was responding as a reader. And I also do that too. Sometimes I leave reviews. I've gotten away a little bit more from just dropping reviews on Goodreads to now just doing them on video because, well, now you're going to have to be invested if you want to see what I'm going to say. But this author wrote a review of this book that she read as a reader, because many of us authors are also readers, and the author came onto the page and called that reader a cunt in the review section. And as if that's not, like, that's probably the worst. But specifically going after your readers because of negative or critical feedback, but authors going after readers because of negative or critical feedback is so bad, and it's creating such like a battle mentality between the two when we should be helping each other, even if we don't necessarily like what the author did. I don't personally feel the need to go and attack an author because I didn't like their book, but the author also shouldn't feel the need to come and attack a reader because they didn't like the book. That also happened with the His Name is Augustin series with a couple of readers that I know where the author of that series started attacking readers, and then some of her friends also started jumping on the readers in the comments section of the Goodreads page, because the author wasn't dissing on the Goodreads page, she was dissing on her social media page, and then one of her followers went from the social media page to harass people on Goodreads, and that just became a mess. Now, you don't need to insult people, and I think I have like at least 2 other videos on this channel about authors behaving badly when they received negative reviews, and this goes sort of, I think, this might be also a contributor to the whole read and return thing, though I think that's mostly self-entitlement, where if you create this battle mentality between the author and the reader, then you don't have that appreciation from the reader to just give artists, you know, what they deserve, like their $2.99 or their whatever for the book that they've read and consumed, even if they don't like it, because you've now created this battle and this antagonism between the two, when we should be cohabitating. This is further shown, and I think this commentary, let me move myself over here, where we go, oh Poor authors. This is interesting. All negative ratings and reviews authors blame on us, the readers. You see how there's this separation of us and them. But armies of fellow authors come to her aid. They countered the negative reviews with positive ones in order to drive her ratings up. Authors don't want fairness. They want 5-star reviews and GR to remove the neg ones. Also, authors of color targeted. Never seen that. Okay. So I have seen this specifically of authors being totally okay with friends and relatives and groups of others just trading high rating stuff so that their book rates higher and their book looks better than it is, because most people just look at ratings when really you shouldn't just look at ratings to mean anything about whether the quality of the book is good. And I'll get into how I look at that scope in just a second. But I have seen authors don't care if you just drop a 5-star review. I've seen indie authors specifically try to trade. I'll give you a 5-star review if you give me a 5-star review. Or, hey, I read your book, so now I'm going to give you a 5-star review. Now, aren't you going to give me a 5-star review because I read your book and gave you a 5-star? And that is so illegitimate. They will scream at you if you leave a 1-star review and they think you haven't read the book. They can sometimes scream at you if you leave a 1-star review and they know that you read the book. But if you leave a 4 or 5-star review, they never try to check whether or not you read that book. They really don't care because it just feeds the ego. In my days of reading very widely, if you've looked at the kinds of reviews that I've dropped on this channel, and if you go to my Goodreads page to see the different sorts of stories that I read very widely. And I pick up books in very different manners, which is kind of what leads me to read so vastly different things and to experience so many different situations. What I've noticed from rating systems is that anything that is over 4 stars typically feeds into a niche. So you're going to have a super high star rating on anything that is really marketed into a niche, and it does really well in that niche because it is mostly just those niche readers that are reading that, and it is feeding that niche. Especially as you go further into a series that is inside of a niche, it's usually mostly fans of the first book that will read the second, third, fourth, whatever books. So there will be higher ratings on later books most often. Not every time. This isn't a surefire rule, because you'll also find some books that are 4 stars, like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is above 4 stars, and that is very broadly distributed. But you'll also see, if you're on Goodreads, that it has like 2 million ratings, and that's a little bit different than a romance story that has maybe 100 ratings and like a 4.3, because that is going to be niche marketed. Now, if it's between 2 and 4 stars, I often see that as being a book that can actually be bad, but it's also a book that has been more distributed than a niche, and there are actual talking points that can be had about that book, whether it is social or political or philosophical or more craft related, because it's not just being sent to a niche. Niches, you can still talk about craft related stuff, but it's just not typically marketed to a wider audience like the 2s through the 4s. And then, if it's sub 2-star rating, that usually means there's controversy about the book or the author specifically. It doesn't actually mean that the book is bad. And this is just specifically on Goodreads, because Goodreads is very much a social media website, and I think you need to take into consideration that star ratings work a little bit differently on there. Everybody also has their different ways in which they use star ratings. Like, personally, I can be super critical, so I'm much more easy about throwing 1 stars out there, but I know people that will only do 1 stars if they DNF a book, and I know that I quite literally look at the ratings on Goodreads and I see that 1 star means I didn't like it, 2 star means it was okay, 3 star means I liked it, 4 star means I really liked it, and 5 star means I loved it. So if I'm reading something and I just go, I don't like this, well, my only option is to say 1 star, because Goodreads tells me 1 star is I didn't like it. So there are different interpretations to what we put on these 1s and 2s and 3 stars, because I've even seen people that said DNF and they put a 3 star on it because they would read the author again or try the author again. They just didn't like that book. But again, like I said, I know people that put 1 star only on things that they DNF. So we have so many vastly different ways in which to interpret these numbers that I think that is a more accurate system for reading number ratings, as opposed to if it's over 4 stars, then it's obviously going to be a good book. Just know your niche. Know your niche if you're going to do that. But the link that's in this this message is how extortion scams and review bomb trolls turned Goodreads into many authors' nightmares. And this again is jumping into the antagonistic relationship that is being set up between authors and readers and reviewers, where authors are so quick to attack. And we saw this, I think it was with Lauren Hugh, who got a 4.5, and she called somebody a name for just not giving her a 5-star because she thought she deserved a 5-star, and that reader didn't give her a 5-star. So you see this relationship where these authors also think that they are owed good reviews and good numbers, that is then creating this angst and this anxiety between the two groups that really shouldn't be there. And then you create this distrust where, yeah, there are campaigns to sync books, and in other cases there aren't. I think you can use something like this to see what it looks like when somebody is being review bombed. So if you look up here, you've got a pretty high rating, a decently high rating. A majority of this book is enjoyed with an 83%. But then you scroll down here and all of the top ratings are 1 and 2 stars. Now, what makes it a top rating? Because clearly, or a more popular rating, because clearly this is more enjoyed. Well, the more popular rating has to do with the number of likes on a review, and so that will boost it up in this section. So when you see a story or a book that's like this, where all of the top are negative ratings with a bunch of likes on them, that looks like somebody is being brigaded by a group that may have found this book and did not like it, as opposed to people who are genuinely reading it. In some cases, like if you go to the men, you'll also end up having people down here, look, it's happening again, but you'll have many people down here that say they did not even bother to read the book. And this book isn't trolled quite as bad. You've got more of a spread in here, but there's also just not as many ratings. But you'll sometimes see people saying, yeah, I'm not even reading this book. I'm just 1-starring it because I don't like the author. So again, this is just, I think, a way to look at ratings, to maybe consider what is being done with the book, and to know that the number on your book does not necessarily equate to the value of the book or your personal enjoyment of the book. Like, I super enjoyed Empress Teresa. It doesn't have the highest rating, but it was a lot of fun. So going over here very quickly, a few months after posting a message on Goodreads about the imminent release of a new book, indie author Beth Black woke up to an all-caps ransom email from an anonymous server demanding that she either pay for good reviews or have her books inundated with negative ones. I actually did, I think, a video on this, a couple, not specifically her case, but on this phenomena maybe last year, where there were ransoms going on. And it can happen. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it can happen. And again, I think this comes down to just this antagonism between readers and authors, and this distrust between the two, where there's no longer as much goodwill because they're pitted against each other. And reader reviews are now often seen, specifically by indie authors, as a way of trying to make them fail or trying to hurt their livelihood. And it doesn't help when you're weaponizing stuff here, where it's stuff that's like, I don't think that you should ever succeed and you should be punished for having these bad ideas or these bad characters in your book. That doesn't help with other authors who believe that you are specifically targeting them to ruin their lives and ruin their business and call them names, instead of just relating back to the book. I don't know how we fix this. There is a weaponization of book reviews, but there's also a weaponization of author platforms against reviewers, and it's going both ways. And I just want to open up this video to be like a conversation about this specific issue, and how do we bridge that gap into the relationship. Obviously, we can't do it for everybody. It's all up to the authors to build that relationship with readership and that trust with readership, and for every reader and author to form an individual relationship as opposed to some amalgamation of like all readers and all authors. But it's just kind of crazy, I guess. I'm having difficulty organizing my thoughts very thoroughly today. If you, it may or may not be obvious. For the record, there are some places that are having this issue happen to them, but it's not all authors that are being review bombed that are having this happen to them. Some of them are political, like specifically Gretchen is writing the same thing as Sandra Newman here. I reviewed both of these books on my channel just recently, and I think that there is some political reviewing going on here. I think there's some power play that goes on in the reviews, either between other authors or between reviewers and authors, and I think that often both can also end up using their platforms to try and dominate each other. I think there's also a tendency in some places, depending on how political you get, for reviewers to come after you for your political beliefs because they want you to conform in one way or another. And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but I don't think that weaponizing reviews is healthy, nor is it truthful to people who genuinely just want to know about a book or genuinely want to know about a reader. Now, I can't tell anybody, and I'm not going to try to tell anybody what to do or how to spend their time or how to use reviews, because it is a sense of self-expression, but I do think that it is harmful to the discourse and the relationship between books, authors, and readers. So I personally appreciate when I go into a book and I am able to, or a page, and see people actually talking about the book and not the author. The one thing that really irritated me about this book, The Men, and this page specifically, is that everybody was so stuck on either defending against or for the transphobic stuff in here, or the political messaging that was being pulled at, that nobody in the comments told me that the main character, the central character, who is the I perspective, was a pedophile. That was your leading character, and it was more or less a love story between a pedophile and a communist cop killer, which was disappointing, which is why when you go to look at my review, you get a spoiler of the thing that I wish I had known when I had gone into this book, which also was that the entire thing is a waste of time because, spoiler alert, you wake from a dream at the end. So when you get away from talking about the book, you get away from talking about the quality of the book, and then you start bolstering books up for reasons that they don't deserve to be boosted up, whether it's because you're trading favors with other authors, and again, trading favors with authors in order to get higher ratings on your books, or in order to review bomb opposing authors on your books so your book looks better, just creates distrust between authors and readers. And readers aren't stupid. I don't know how many indie authors need to hear this, but readers aren't stupid, and they can tell when you're trading reviews with other authors and you haven't genuinely read either the book that you're reviewing, or you've just gone around and asked people to drop reviews on your book. You need to respect readers' intelligence and readers in general if you want them to give you back respect. So that's all that I'm really going to say on this, and I hope to have your guys' conversations and discussions down below on pretty much this relationship between readers and authors and how it's gotten kind of toxic, and what is even happening here with the weaponization of book reviews in so many different ways, including the extortion, and then including where authors start accusing readers of bombing their books on purpose, and just it's all a mess. And like I say, I wish we could get back to making books about books and creative writing, even if it's a little bit tough. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week or weekend, and don't die. Hello, boomers. My name is Yanananana. In case you didn't know, I'm a YouTuber from Nide, a small town in eastern Ukraine. My family has never really understood what I do in the woods, but all I've ever wanted is to make a better life for us all. Papa always comes home from the mines angry, dirty, and tired. It's a necessary evil to do your job and be in a place that you don't want to be, but I've never wanted to spend my life doing exactly what was necessary of me. Yanni, there's someone here to see you. Americans. Americans? Yeah. Good morning. My name is Tom Cruise. This is my partner Bob Dylan, and we are big fans of your work. You're a couple of boomers. Actually, I'm a Gen Xer, but I digress. We'd like to sponsor you. Sponsor? What does that mean? We'd like to supply you with a couple of things to, help your channel explode. Who is it? Jan Bagan. Good. For a moment, I thought you were one of the catsup looking for trouble again. What do you mean? They say they're looking for a terrorist. They want to declare war. What point is there to declare war? Human beings are simple creatures. You understand what drives humanity? You understand all human motivation. There's someone out there doing something bigger than your internet videos, and they won't hesitate to use you as a scapegoat. The Russians are begging for a reason to declare us hostile so they can take everything we have. Don't give them that reason, Jan. I should just go home, like Boris said, but I checked the video I posted last night and it has over 500 views. I'm going viral. I don't have a choice. I must produce another video. The jar I'm holding slips out of my sweaty palms. I can't waste any more time and go back for it. I grab my tripod saying sorry, while I keep moving. The jar explodes. I'm deafened by something so loud and powerful it seems unreal. Jan, did you see that? Where the hell have you been? You mean the explosion? Yes. That was me. You needed to not do this today. You don't understand, Alex. I had to do it. I had to get the views. You're going to get yourself killed, Jan. No. They're looking for a terrorist. And how do you look different than a terrorist? I'm not trying to hurt people. Ignorance of war will not stop bullet from straying into your head.